I'm not thinking about those sights. No, won't be there to enjoy the view. No, no. I think heaven will be alright as long as you're there, as long as there is you. If I never hear an angel sing in a far off holy land, if I never hear a doorbell ring, sing a chorus in a Christian band, I'm not thinking about the sights, but be there to enjoy the view. I think heaven will be alright, just as long as you're there, as long as there is you. I'm not thinking about the sights,
Won't be there.
won't be there to enjoy the view.
I think heaven will be
I
alright,
think heaven will be alright,
long as you're there. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Let me hear you sing. I'm not thinking about so wonderful. Oh no, don't think that to enjoy the view. I think heaven will be long as you're there. There is you. Come on, somebody, listen again. Say, I'm not thinking about so wonderful. Oh no, but there to enjoy. I think heaven will be alright, long as you're there. There is you. Come on, one more time. Let's sing. I'm not thinking about so glad I'll be there to enjoy. I think heaven will be alright. Hey, as long as you're there, as long as you're there, yeah. As long as you're there, hey, long as you're there, as long as you're there, as long as you're there, as long as you're there, I don't need needle, I don't need hope, I don't need needle. As long as you're there, it's just to be holy. As long as you're there, as long as you're there. Hey, we all get to heaven, yeah. When we all see Jesus, we will sing and shout. Come on, somebody raise your voice and let's sing together. You want to sing? Sing it. When we all get to heaven, yeah. We will sing. We will sing, shout, shout, sing. I'm not thinking about. Hey, somebody take a look, sing. When we there, it should be going to you. I think heaven will be on, somebody give Jesus praise in here.
We not gonna shake, we never gonna give up. Hey, our God gonna make a way out of no way.
Me no go shake, shake, shake.
We never gonna give up. Hey, our God gonna make
Too strong,
a
yeah.
way out of no way.
Son of God, the daughters of Zion. This is the message to you. Winners don't quit and quitters don't win. Rocks,
Listen,
here we go now.
the devil to make my life a day tired, but Jesus don't make my word for better. Sometimes I fall, sometimes I'm down,
sometimes
but
I'm
again,
down.
again, the devil a liar, he go fail every time.
One time,
We not gonna shake,
We no go shake,
never gonna give up.
and God gon' make our way.
Way out of no
We
way.
no go shake, 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 shake,
Gonna give up.
and God gon' make our way.
To talk to your talk. We never shake, nah, nah, nah. Jack, we have a rock in a God. We hide on. We never
Listen to
shake,
this.
nah, nah,
Hey,
nah.
say, sometimes I wonder why you do for me. I'm not perfect, but still you do bless me. So tell which kind of God it is. Now wow, you be your God. Thank you, Baba. You be big God. You be big God.
Bigger, 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 bigger.
You be mighty,
Mighty, mighty, mighty,
you be gracious,
gracious, gracious.
you be precious.
God, I can't thank you enough. If there is anything beyond thanks to you, I give. For my life, the only son you gave, and to his suffering I'm redeemed, and the true soldier of the cross. Jesus, my Lord, in you I take solace. Bulldog to pain for the days of my life, cause when I'm down, you lift me up. My darkest hour to your word, you light me up. You will never give me this far to let me down. And I know my ladder will be better than the past. Weeping may last only for a night. Joy coming in the morning. You can hate me, persecute and kill me. As long as my soul is saved. To live is Christ and to die is gain. We do shake, take a stand for Christ.
We not gonna shake, we never gonna give up.
I'm gonna make our way.
Out of no way.
We no go shake, 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 shake.
Gonna give up.
I'm gonna make our way. Hey, Baba, Chineke, my God,
My God, you are.
my wood, when you could for my help. Baba, Chineke, my God, my wood, when you could for my help. You be big God, you be big God.
Bigger, 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 bigger.
You be mighty, God, yeah.
Mighty,
You be gracious,
gracious, gracious.
Oh, 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 ah, oh, 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 na, na, hey. Let me hear you sing, oh, 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 hey, oh, 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 praise Jesus. Hey.
Lovely people, good afternoon once again, and welcome to the Back to the Sound Basics with MSAP Music. All right, with me, your host, Ep11, the Chief Servant of MSAP Music and IT Services. Today, we're just moving on straight to another interesting topic in the mixing fraternity, where we have already started discussing issues one after the other. All right. In order to become a pro mixer or a pro engineer, there are certain topics that you don't have to do without them. All right. You can't do without them because these are topics of essence, and they will make your sound come out like a pro mixing or doing something that is worth cherishing. All right. So today we are just moving on to one big topic, or good topic, which is good to discuss. After discussing our various mixing in perspective, the various knobs and controls on a mixer, and we have also discussed a couple of preparations that you need to do before mixing or before taking up a project during the mixing stage. We have done all that. But today, we are moving on straight to what I call gain staging. This is a very important topic, but a lot of people just sweep it under the carpet. You don't have to sweep it under the carpet. It's something you just have to take it briefly and step by step. It's going to help all of us. All right. If you are going to work on any project, be it live in the front of house mix, or be it in your studio where you need how do you call it? In your studio where you need to level up your various gains. What we are talking about here is that you need to properly take a cue in your gain staging. When you talk about gain staging, what do we mean by gain staging? It's nothing so extraordinary for you. I mean, we are just going to look at some 6 steps just to have a very good gain staging. All right. Now, let's look at what gain staging is. When you talk about gain staging, all that gain staging talks about is that leveling or dealing with your gain in order to have a balanced sound. Dealing with your gain in order to have a balanced sound. Now, why is this so important? The name gain staging sounds fancy, but it's actually very simple, okay? It's just making sure that the volume of your track is set well. Okay? Making sure that the volume of your track the volume of your track is set well. Whether a number of different levels and sounds that are coming up, that has been mixed down, it depends on you. So that is gain staging for you. That is gain staging for you. Whether you are recording or mixing, gain staging is crucial, and it's a very good step to take whenever you want your sound to go the professional level. Okay, so that is gain staging. Now, let me give you this analogy. If you are creating a sound, or if you are creating a mix, whether you are mixing or you are recording, and that sound is quite too loud, and it's picking and it's clipping, definitely you won't. Especially, let me give you this scenario. When you are listening to a radio, and a radio broadcast, and you hear that particular station, their sound is having some she sound and chi sound in it, and sometimes it even blasts to the extent that you can't even hear the smoothness of the sound. You become bored with the sound, because the sound is too compact and the waves are not even free if you are to measure it with any wave measurement. It's not free. So what you usually have to do is that it means from that station or of that particular channel that you are working with, if actually their levels are not well set, and that in conclusion or in conjunction with their cables that they are using, if they are not well balanced, the sound becomes too noisy, and that you don't feel the sound well. Okay, so it all stems down from gain staging. And let me also give you this. When we are talking about, one of the reasons that is making us talk about gain staging is that with the gain staging, what we are talking about is when you see that every level of your track, whether it's a line, a channel, or any mix down, that when you are playing and it's clipping at a red point, when you see the light of that particular signal is hitting at a very loud or red point, then you should know that gain staging is not properly set, or your gain level is not properly set. All right. So whether in the front of house, for instance, somebody may be mixing a sound even in an auditorium or in his house, and you will see the sound level or the sound meter clipping red, not orange or red, and they feel good about it. When you tell them, they will tell you, this is how we want our sound to be. All right? Please, that is bad. That is bad. That is bad. You don't have, regardless of the reasons that you give, you don't have to entertain clipping or clipped sound. I will tell you, it's a sin to do that. Your sound should not be clipping. Your sound meter level should not be clipping. At most, it should hit minus 18 dB. I mean the overall mix. Minus 18 dB, or at most, worst of it all, as I scream, as you see me, as you hear me scream, at worst of it all, it should be hovering around the minus 12 or the minus 13 dB threshold of the mix. Your entire mix or your mix down should not go beyond minus 18 dB or at most minus 13 dB. Okay? If you're able to do that, it means your threshold is well set or your level is well set. And it should be also, gain staging helps clarity. Once I'm talking about its importance, let me just talk about it. One, gain staging helps for you to get clarity of sound. The clarity is important. So, my dear, if you are opening up any gain, whether analog or digital, if you are opening up any gain of any channel, please consider that at the end of the day, its level or its at the input section, its level does not go beyond minus 18 or at most minus 13 dB. Minus 13 dB. Whether on the general mix or on the main mix level or on the individual channel input level. Averagely, it shouldn't go beyond minus 18. When all put together, when all the whole thing is summed together, it shouldn't go beyond 18. All right. So this is what you have to be yearning for. All right. Now, on your screen, as you see it right now on your screen, you see some of the various digital and analog staging that are found in there. With the analog gain staging, sometimes you're able to see them on the VU meter. On the VU meter. What does the VU meter do? The VU meter is there to help you know the various level that your sound is playing back and forth from the lowest to the highest. That is, sometimes it even starts from infinity, and then at the maximum, as it turns up, you see the red meter going. Sorry, you see the meter bar moving to the red level. That means you are going beyond even the unity gain, the 0 up to even plus 2 and plus 3 dB. That is bad. That is bad. Your mix level should not go beyond even the 0 point, even the 0. Okay? So please, whenever you are mixing, fatu trim, put it at the back of your mind that, hey, I'm aiming at something. Let's take some steps, some 9 steps to supercharge our mix using gain staging. All right. So, in a brief, let's take this. How it works, let's start it from our recording, especially those of us who have been doing multi-track recording. Those of us who have been working with multi-track recording from various angles, all right? You want to make sure everything you record is the right volume. If your recordings are too soft or loud, you run into unwanted surprises in the mix. Yes, it shouldn't be too soft and it shouldn't be too loud. It shouldn't be too soft and it shouldn't be too loud. It shouldn't be too soft and it shouldn't be too loud. Okay, so make sure you set the preamp properly before you start recording. You want the volume to be hover around minus 18 dB FS or minus 15 dB FS. Okay? The channels meter in your DAW, when I say DAW, digital audio workstation, that's what I mean by DAW, D-A-W, DAW, digital audio workstation. Example of digital audio workstations, my assistant will tell me, stop explaining all the other terms because we are running behind time. But I have to, this is back to the sound basics. We need to explain every basic thing every basic term that comes up. Every basic term that comes up, we need to. All right. So DAW is, we usually call it DAW, is the digital audio workstation. An example of a digital audio workstation include the Cubase, the Tracks Live, the Reaper, Ableton Live, what have you, Pro Tools, okay, name them, Nuendo, okay, Emotion. Emotion is from Waves, okay, all right. So all these are some of the things that you can get to record. If you are basically going in for a recording, okay, make sure your DAW will have some numbers next to it. Your channel DAW will have some numbers that is next to it, so that when the recording is peaking or clipping or is about to clip, you can know the meter level. All right. For instance, what you see on your screen now, there are some levels on it, and this kind of DAW is that of the Ableton Live. Yes, this is the Ableton Live you have on your screen. And there are other DAW levels that you can see, like that of the I actually use the Cubase and Pro Tools. Those are my favorites, actually. And then Nuendo. I also use Studio One as well. I mean, that is Caleb's, Caleb Ashonkatai's favorite tone. That is his favorite. That's Studio One. Also, I usually sometimes use that one a lot. All right. So those are some of the okay. So if you are recording, make sure your recorder or your DAW is having some couple of things or marks or meter around it. All right. So that one, you just have to see it. Please aim at a medium recording, not to clip and not to go below minus 36 dB. No. If it's below minus 36 dB, then it means you're recording, you have a lot of work to do. You have a lot of work to do during the recording, especially during the mixing. At least it should be around that minus 18. Your level shouldn't be so weak. Okay? Shouldn't be so or too weak. All right? So that when it's time for the post-production, you can have enough time and enough work to do on it. All right? And now for mixing, you have to go in and add some gain and trim plugins at the top of your plugin chain. What do I mean by this? When you are done recording and the recording sounds good, okay, when the levels are very good and very okay, all that you need to do is that when you go into your mixing DAW, just add some gain or trim plugins, such as the gain of your compressor, the gain of your compressor, of your EQ, okay, and then the gain of the DAW as well, so that you can increase the plugins, the gain of that particular plugins. All right. So if you're able to do that, you get a fairly gain staged work. All right. So then again, always be looking out for a VU meter on your mix bus. Always, you should be looking out for a VU meter. A VU meter. Okay? A VU meter on your screen now. You can see a VU meter as you find it there. All right? You can, if you see this is what I'm talking about as the VU meter. This is a VU meter. All right. So now let's move on. Now, go track by track. Listen to each instrument while it's soloed. Go track by track. Listening to each instrument while it's soloed. All right? You also want to pick up pick out the section where each instrument is at its loudest. Okay? If you have recorded, every instrument is being recorded in tracks. I'm talking to those who have been doing multi-tracking. All right. So the multi-tracking, make sure that during the recording, you knew where exactly some of the sounds were so picking. At that point, use that one as your gain stage point. If it is live, for instance, in the front of house, tell your instrumentalist to play, when you are doing sound check, tell your instrumentalist to play some of the loudest sound or the loudest noises or the loudest songs at this place. During that time, this is where you can get a very good point to gain stage. All right? All right. So check for anything that's usually above or below 0 dB on the VU meter. Then you turn it up or down until it's sitting around 0 dB of your various inputs. So you can go through all the section of the various channels and then you play the very loudest of the sound or the very loudest of your songs. When that is done, you then make sure you gain all of them at least 0 dB. Those ones which are beyond 0, you gain it down, okay? So that all of them will be sitting around 0 dB within the mix. All of them will be sitting around 0 dB within the mix. So whenever you are working, you are so sure that your mix or your gain will never go beyond 0 dB. And by so doing, during the mixing, you will have enough room, enough headroom to work around your negative 18 and your negative 13 that we are talking about. I hope I make myself clear. Yeah. So to help you, keep this in mind for every mix. All right? Keep in mind for every mix. Now, let me quickly get some gain staging step-by-step approach. All right? So step one, load up a gain plugin at the top of any tracks that are picking above -6 dB. Load up a gain plugin at the top of any track that are picking above -6 dB. So if you have any plugin such as a compressor tool or any other plugin like an EQ plugin that is likely to help you go beyond it, you can just do that. So you can put it there so that you use that one to control that particular channel or that particular input channel. All right. The next one is that put a VU meter at the beginning of your stereo output and calibrate it to -18 dBs. Put a VU meter. Yes, there are VU meters all around in your mixing or in your DAW. There are VU meters all around. So any of the VU meter that you can have over there, you just get it and then you are good to go. All right, so you can get them at the VU meter, any of the VU meter, and then you set it or you calibrate it. That's what I mean by calibration. Set it or calibrate it, all right, at -18 dBFS. And now, step three, solo the loud tracks one by one and play it around the loudest point. Solo the loud tracks one by one and play it around its loudest point. So at this point, if there is any point that a sound is too loud within your mix, just play around it at its highest peak. At that point in time, you are good and easy, and also easy to find out. It's also easy to find out which one is peaking beyond 0 dB, which one is peaking beyond -18 dBFS. All right, so that you can work around it. Okay, so you play around it so that you can use it to. Now, remember you have set your VU meter at 18 dBFS. All right. Now, point 4, step 4. Turn the volume of the gain plugin up or down until the volume of the track is around 0 dB on the VU meter. So any plugin or any track that is beyond that, you just have to learn how to trim it up and down. If it's below, take it up. If it's too high, take it down. Is that? I hope you understand my point. All right, and then step 5. If you are using instrument basses, make sure you repeat the process with each bass once you have done your volume balancing. Okay, so those of us who have been grouping and bassing our various instruments in your mix, for instance, at the drum bass, you have to make sure you set the levels within the bass so that it meets that particular requirement. If it's at the keyboard bass, you meet it meets that particular requirement. At the guitars bass section, in that order, make sure you repeat the step 1 up to step 4, i.e. the step 1 telling you load up a gain plugin, step 2 saying put a VU meter, step 3 saying solo the loud tracks one by one, and step 4 saying turn the volume up, the volume gain plugin up or down. Okay, and then at step 6, we are saying that find any channels that are peaking below -30 dBFS and repeat step 1 to 5. This time, turning the channels up instead of down. let me brief you a bit on the step 6. Find any channels that are peaking below -30 dBFS and repeat step 1 to 5, this time turning the channels up instead of down. If there is any track or if there is any channel that is below -30 dBs, all you need to do is that use the step 1 up to 5, repeat step 1 up to 5 to get it leveled. Is that right? Okay. It goes through all the fundamental steps of your mix needs. Keep it on your desktop for easy access. All that I've said, keep it for easy access. Now, but there is more to great gain staging. Let me take a quick breather. When I return, we go through the 9 secrets the pro used to make their songs sound great. And we are all learning from them. All right, so we take a quick commercial break here. I'll be right back. This is back to the sound basics. Welcome back to the sound basics. Welcome back to the sound basics, where we ask why you do what you do and how you do what you do. All right. So now we are moving on straight to some of these things the various pros do to get their sound recording nice in terms of gain staging. Gain staging. We are dealing with gain staging. We have dealt extensively with EQing. We have dealt extensively with the various frequencies around. Now today we are still working on gain staging on our recordings and various points. All right, now let's move on. Top-notch recordings. Step 1 or secret 1. Most people record their instruments too loudly. It may sound counterintuitive, but your recordings are too loud, your song will sound quieter. Why is that? Why is that? When your song's too loud, you have less headroom while mixing and mastering. You won't be able to turn the volume up to match pro standards. You will also get some nasty distortions. So recordings at the proper levels is really important. When recording any instrument, watch the meters of your track. And on your screen, pretty shortly, the meters in your DAW measures in dBFS. You want to aim for an average of negative 18 dBFS, with peaking hitting around minus 10 dBFS. So what we mean to say is that when you are recording, at least, or averagely, it should be around negative 18 dB. Negative 18 dB. But if you, at most, it should go, or its peak should be around the negative 10 dB. Its peak must be around the negative 10 dB. So with what you see on your screen now, this is the best and the most bad one, or the bad one is the one with the times on it, the red asterisk on it. And the correct one is this. So for instance, with a snare, it should not go like that. This is the kick, and you see it's hitting around negative 18. Your snare is now around negative 4.8. Please, it is bad. Negative 4.8 is bad. It is bad. It is a sin. Set yourself for the success by keeping each track's volume in this range of negative 18. Yes. Let's take this one. Musicians tend to play louder while recording than while sound checking. This is due to the hubris of man. Oh, my problem all the time with my musicians. My musicians, fellow musicians, whenever you are recording, please, the way you hit harder at your recording level should be at the same point or the notch that it should be during the recording. Never play soft during sound check and hit louder at the mainstream recording. It becomes bad. Do I make myself clear? Or you give too much of problems to the engineer, both the mixing engineer for the front of house and the mixing engineer for the post-production. All right. So now, please, give yourself an extra dB, you the engineer who is going to do the mixing for the front of house as well as the post-production. During the recording, give yourself an extra dB or 2 of headroom while setting the preamp level. So don't give them everything so that they will mess your recording up, where you will be clipping to up to even negative 4 or negative 2 dB. So give them that headroom. You create it for them. Now the next secret is that, secret number 2, adjust for plugins that add or subtract volume. adjust for plugins over the course of your mix, the volume of your tracks will fluctuate. That's because plugins will naturally add or subtract volume. Plugins will naturally add or subtract volume. Take this EQ, for example, on your screen. All right. As you can see, it's cutting out a lot of frequencies. But cutting these out, the track as a whole will still be quieter. So to make sure your mix is still balanced, you will need to turn it back up. Here is how you can figure out your how much to turn it down. All right. First, put an LUFS on your master bass, then solo the track with the EQ on it. Solo the track with your EQ on it. Bypass the plugin and see how loud the meter is. Okay? When you are done, this is how it will be. Then you turn the plugins back on. You turn the plugin back on and play the same part of the song again. When you are done, as you can see, this track will be a few dB quieter when the EQ is turned on. Now, we know how much we need to turn it back on. It's really easy for plugins to change the volume of a track. Yes, very easy for it to change it. So you want to use this technique frequently. Just check whether the volume changes with the plugins turned off, and if it's so, adjust for it. All right? So whenever you are within your mixing stage, put an LUFS on your master bass. When you talk about LUFS, it is a level meter that checks the various levels of when plugins are added or not. All right? And when it's done, what you do is that when that one is done, what you do is that it helps you to check the real level, the average level, and the integrated level of your sound, or of that particular channel. Okay? So over here, you put it there and you turn off the EQ of the particular channel. You will see the real one, and when you bring it back, you will see the actual LUFS over there. And so, as you use you use the loudness meter, you will be able to differentiate between what is loud and what is not loud, especially when you do a subtractive or additive plugins. When you use that subtractive or additive plugins. All right. So let's go to secret number 3. Protect your compression settings. Secret number 3. Protect your compression settings. What do I mean by protecting your compression setting? All right. This one goes hand in hand with the last one that we just spoke about. You did some additive and subtractive balancing. All right. What you do here is that if you have an EQ that's adding volume to your track, you might think you should turn the fader down. All right? But that would be a big mistake. It would be a big mistake. You think the fader is what is giving you that loud sound, so you want to turn it down. No. Doing this could throw your mix out of balance if you have something like a compressor on the channel. So don't be in a hurry to turn down your fader because your sound level is too high or is too loud. Especially when you have in mind that you have in mind a compressor to be in place. So what you do is that by turning down the volume going into the compressor, it will actually compress less. So what do you do if you need to change the volume of a track that has plugins on it? Instead of turning the volume down at the beginning of the plugin, we will turn it down at the end. Go to the end of the plugin chain and throw on another gain plugin so that you can turn it down at your own pace so that it won't mess up the rest of your effects. This is wisdom. I once experienced this. When I turn down the volume after, I take down my fader because I think that particular instrument is too loud. It goes out of proportion. It takes it out of the actual balance that I have. Meanwhile, my thing is peaking. So what do? So I just had to introduce another gain plugin into the mix. When I introduced it there, and I used that one too, because you have already gained, and you have used an EQ, another compressor, and you have balanced it fairly, but you feel that it's still loud. So I introduced another gain compressor. Okay? And then I gained it down a bit. And now this time, it gave me a fair balance. It took it down, actually, but it didn't take it out of balance. Balancing is of essence when you are gain staging. Balancing is of essence. So don't just take down anything anyhow. Rather, you have to introduce another gain plugin to turn it down considerably, favorably, arguably to a successful level where you want it. All right. Secret number 4. We have 15 minutes more to end our session for the day. All right. Secret number 4. You have to use a VU meter. Yes, I spoke about it earlier. But it's just still important for us to do it. While setting your preamps and plugins, you will want to pop up a VU meter on your master bus. Why a VU meter? VU meters show an approximation of how loud something is. And since you are focusing on average volume of a track, VU meters are especially helpful. Double check that your VU meter is set to negative 18 dB FS. This just means that 0 dB on the VU meter is the same thing as negative 18 dB FS. All right. Later on your mix, you will want to use an LUFS meter. VU meters aren't great for surgical stuff like adjusting for volume changes made by plugins. But when it comes to setting your initial levels, VU meters are really handy. They are really handy. Okay? They are really handy. If you are your initial stage of gain staging and setting your levels, VU meters are the best. But when you are mixing and you are in the course of mixing at the pro, you have to use the LUFS meter. The LUFS meter. Most doors don't come with a VU meter, but TB Pro Audio has one free VU meter. That's really good. So you can go and check on it. TB Pro Audio. TB Pro Audio. All right. By default, it's set as a peak meter. So make sure you click on the word peak and change it to VU. All right? Change it to VU so that you don't. Now, secret number 5. Pay attention to your basses. Oh gosh. Pay attention to your basses. It's really easy to forget about your basses, man. But hey, your basses, let me just say that they are the carriers of your instrument, the carriers of your signals through to the master volume. Your basses are the carriers. The basses are just as simple, though if the signals coming into it is too hot, is too hot, add a gain plug-in at the beginning of the plug-in chain and turn it down. That's all you need to do for the bus. Okay? Make sure to do this for the stereo output as well. All right. So create space and separation in your mixes using sub-mixes. And that's have been one of my strategic points that I've been using. All right. You don't need expensive tools to gain stage effectively. That's stage number 6. Point number 6, or secret number 6. You don't need expensive or you don't need premium plugins to do gain staging. All right. There are plenty of fancy plugins out there that you are better off sticking with your DAW's stock plugins instead of dropping a ton of money on premium ones that do the same thing. So please, don't spend too much money on any plugin, whatever, to do gain staging. No. You can use your stock plugins. Okay? You can just use your own stock plugins. Now, secret number 7. Yeah, secret number 7. Don't leave any faders down low. After balancing your mix, you may realize that some faders are really low. Please, don't leave any fader down. For instance, because the pad is too loud and you have taken it down, no. Don't leave any fader down. If you have set your levels well and your gains are well set, no fader should be down. No fader should be down. Maybe something that's only suspended to be barely audible, like a shaker or a pad. The problem is that the closer you get to the bottom of the fader, let me take this point again. The problem is that the closer you get to the bottom of the fader, the less resolution you have. One tiny movement could change the volume by 10 dB. My boss, William Afre, he was always certain and was very particular about this. Mr. William Afre, I greet you. He trained me into a proper sound engineer. He started with me. He started with me. I learned under him. Mr. William Afre, God bless you wherever you are. And I'm forever grateful and I'm indebted to you. All that I know is from him. And he kept hammering on this thing that, hey, if you think you are pushing the fader just like this, no. It's a great deal to change something. And I've always been keeping my guys in tune and in check like that. So please, don't leave any fader down. Number 8, automation, gain staging on steroids. This one is huge, but then he says time is up. But I'll try as much as possible to do that. Automating a channel's gain over time. Pros use this all the time to make sure their songs sound consistent. Automation. I'll come to automation some other time. So all that I can say that automate individual phrases using the good, make sure you have good limiters and compressors to do this. All right, now let me say, I'll come back to automation sometime, but let me use the last point. Secret 9, don't be a perfectionist. Set it and forget it. Don't be a perfectionist. Set it and forget it. Nothing kills creativity like agonizing over the details. Anytime you finish your mixing, you are like, this one is less small, this one, please, Once you are able to repeat all those 8 steps and all the 8 tips that I gave and the first 6 tips that we did, you are good to go. Believe in yourself and create your mix. There is no perfect mix and there is no perfect engineer. The perfect engineer is the one who believes in himself and goes through the various routines of mixing, and you're able to get it right and good to the ear. That's all. Believe in yourself and you are good to go. There are some 7 steps that you can go through to mixing at home as a pro, but we will learn that one later. So today we've learned quite a hectic point, which is gain staging, which is always killing us. But we focused on the recording. The next time we will go on gain staging during the recording or live performance. That will be our episode 12. All right, that will be episode 12. With episode 11, we looked at gain staging for recording. At episode 12, we will look at gain staging for live recording and the live stage performance. Until we meet another time for our last episode for season 1, which is episode 12. I am MSAP, Ebenezer Mensah Sapa. Why do you do what you do? And how you do what you do is the slogan for Back to the Sound Basics. Special thanks to Senior Julius, drum major of Sweet Music, Senior Julius of Sweet Music, Calebashon Katai Tone of iMix School, and Streamline Pro Audio. All right. God bless you, my bro. Clue Andrews, Kamen Studios. God bless you. Oti Daniel Oti of Denisap Studios. God bless you. And all the wonderful guys in Kumasi and around Ghana. Senior Kakraba, God bless you. Thanks for being there for us all. And my boss, Mr. Danny Bassi, and my senior, my tutor, my trainer, my everything, the one who introduced me to sound engineering, Mr. William Afre. God bless you so much. You have deposited a lot in me. God bless you. And I appreciate you. God bless you so much. Until we meet again on the next episode, episode 12 of season 1, Back to the Sound Basics. It is me, MSAP. This is brought to you by MSAP Music and IT Services with support from Design Impact. We take charge of all your multimedia works, from sound, video, productions, and all sort of designs and photography. We take it up. God bless you and stay tuned. Until today, until the next time we meet, share, click on the button and share. God bless you. Bye-bye.
As long as you're there, we all get to heaven, yeah. When we all see Jesus, we will sing and shout. Come on, somebody raise your voice and let's sing together. If you don't know how to sing, sing it. When we all get to heaven, yeah. We will sing. We will sing. Shout, sing. I'm not thinking about. Hey, somebody kick the Lord, sing. When we dead, it should be going to you. I think heaven will be alright. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Come on, somebody give Jesus praise in here.